We're live.
Hello, everyone. I'll call the meeting to order tonight, 6:18 at 7:06 p.m. Is anyone missing? Okay. Everyone got a chance to look at the agenda? Anyone have any questions about the agenda or adjustments to the agenda? For you? Thank you. All right, well, having no questions there, I'll move on to public comment. Anybody have any public comments?
Not yet.
Okay, having no public comments, I will turn it over to Cammie for the minutes.
I sent out the draft minutes from our May 21st meeting. I did not hear anything from anyone except for Mary wanting to change who. I'm not sure if this was,
It was a motion.
the motion to go in and out of executive session, which I believe Jenna had changed that prior to them going actually live. So are any right now any changes or corrections, additions to the minutes? Can I have a motion to approve? Michael, second. Katie,
Any questions? Further discussion? All those in favor? Everyone? Anyone opposed? Okay, motion passes. Next up, we have the treasurer reports. Our treasurer, Kate.
Okay, so I have everything listed here. We remain in good financial standing. We are back kind of in balance now in terms of the warrant and off warrant, because now we're spacing things out about a month apart again, even though we're preparing it. It's a little bit earlier, closing a little bit earlier, it's closer to the month-to-long time frame. So you see some of the expenses here. One that I was excited about was starting to see some of the summer reading stuff coming in, which is always a fun time. Does anybody have any questions about the report?
I was going to ask under noteworthy expenses, just wondering the $8,000 to Jeff Boyer, is that for?
That's for the summer programming, right?
Our big events. Oh, that's right, okay, I saw that.
I just had one question. I saw that we bought CDs and I thought we had.
They're audiobooks on CD, not music CDs. We got rid of music CDs. Next year, we're not funding. They won't be going away for a while.
And then I also, I know this is in our, it's been in prior reports, but I was curious, the network / cellular monitoring with Capital Security. Is that, what is that?
That's our security
Or
system for the building. Yep.
It's fire, they get the same.
I can look, right? a motion to accept the bulk warrant in the amount of $102,849.35 for the period of May 11th through May 11th, 2024 through June 7th, 2024 as presented.
Somebody willing to make that motion? Michael? Second?
Charlie?
Any further discussion? Those in favor? Any opposed? Unanimously. Everybody can talk up, speak up, so we can hear it publicly.
It's hard to hear. We've received reports that it's hard to hear with the speakers. They're above, they're the green flashing. So if you're not sitting directly under a speaker, definitely please speak up. Or microphone, thank you.
I think that's the other end.
Yeah, that's
Speakers on the other end, the microphone's this side.
the microphone.
Got it.
Thank you.
And then the motion to authorize the president to sign the warrant for the period of May 11th, 2024 through June 7th, 2024 in the amount of $54,843.38.
Make a motion? Second? Any further discussion? All in favor? Everyone, the motion passes.
And then motion to approve the June 7th, 2024 financials with 43.4% of the year completed as presented.
Amy first, and a second. Amanda? There were any further discussion or questions? All in favor? Is none opposed? Okay. Okay, moving on. And anybody have any further questions for Katie on the treasurer's report? Moving on to committee reports, we had administrative committee met, services did not, so I guess we'll do admin first, Katie.
So the main things we talked about were the proposed balance sheet revision, the FOB entry from capital security, and the budget presentation, which now is kind of new because we'll be presenting the budget later tonight with the details and everything. So in terms of the balance sheet revision, the objective was to separate restricted from non-restricted funds. So we kind of talked through that, and now we're gonna have two operating accounts. So it's listed here as like what it's going to be, what it used to be, to try and clarify, which it might just be easier to like wait and see it instead of trying to mentally process it this way. But essentially this will allow for the maximum amount of interest to accrue, and you'll see that that's actually an important part of our budget for next year, is that if we are placing our money in a more productive way, then we can actually earn back some funds. So that's a great way to kind of earn money for free. We'll have the board designated, and that'll be either restricted or unrestricted. So here you see gift and grant will be renamed to donor restricted gift and grant, and then non-restricted will just be put into savings operating, again, to try and accrue as much interest as possible. Two accounts will be used for capital reserves, restricted and non-restricted. The current account will be renamed capital reserve non-restricted, and the fund balance account will be renamed donor restricted capital reserve. And the fund balance funds will be removed. So the funds received from taxpayers will be deposited or transferred into non-restricted, and then the construction grants and other funds which are earmarked for a special capital project will be moved into the restricted account. And then those are just some more details there, and then her and operating contingency will continue to be interest bearing and have non-restricted added to the account names. Any questions about that before we move on? Okay.
And I will say up front, I am probably the worst grammatical person in this room. But when I read B, there will be 2 operating accounts, checking operating formally and savings operating formally, public finance, semicolon, which accrue interest. To me, that reads that both accrue interest. And they don't.
Oh, yeah,
The
'cause that's
same
how I
route
read
as
it.
the one
That's how I read
which
it.
will accrue.
Correct, only the savings will accrue interest.
Interest.
Because I read it the same way Michael did.
I think another point, just discussion wise, was this will also make, I think it'll make it easier for us as a board, because we have to approve things that have the restrictions. And so it will be sitting in the account that we actually are. And I also thought there was something that the accountants, or the auditors rather, didn't they say that this was a better way to designate our funds?
Yes, because at the end of the year, remember when we do our audit, they tell you how much is restricted and how much is not restricted. So we'll be able to see that throughout the year, so there'll be some, it will be agreeing.
Yeah, accurately reflect what we're actually looking at, which is nice. Go ahead.
I do think it'll be, once we can see it laid out, I do think it'll be more clear than trying to understand it just verbal, like with the words.
So do we need a motion to change the accounting?
No,
I don't
you
think
already
so.
approved this, you already approved it, and the next step is we're working with the accountant to revise the chart of accounts so that it shows up properly, and we will and make the change in the banks.
So when will the balance sheet reflect these terms?
When would you like it to, would you like it to be for July, or would you like it to?
You know, to me, mid-year change makes sense.
Let's do it for July.
Is that good with you as the treasurer? 'Cause you're-
It's better for me to figure it out over the summer than during the school year, so if you give me time. The fob entry for the staff safety zones. So we definitely want to move forward with this. Can the system be fail secure? So there was a lot of talk of fail safe versus fail secure. And I'm not 100% sure I understand that, so someone else might be better to explain that. But we want to consider it a capital expense because it's just going to be like the one-time installation and then we're going to have it. So if someone wants to explain fail secure, that would be
I'll
I'll pass it on you, Michael.
These are electronic door locks that we're adding to the locks that we have
Internally.
internally. Well, there's one external door from the children's room. And the intent is that this change is being made so the building can be secured in case of an intruder or something, so that people can go to places where they might be safe and quickly lock them, and then the access is with a fob to that space. The big key in what the whole discussion is fail safe and fail secure. If the power goes out, these are all magnetically operated. So if the power goes out, what happens to the lock? And it wasn't really clear. You want to make sure that people can still exit. So, you know, if there's an exit sign over a door, but now we've locked it and done that, and the power goes out and the people can't get out, then, you know, we failed there. I don't think there are any that are like that. but not even the magnetic lock. People used to do this all with magnetic locks, and they don't anymore. They do with, the piece that the door notch thing goes in is called the strike, and they now do it with strikes that are electromagnetically operated. So I believe if the handle on the door operates as it always did, so you could always escape in the direction that you're going, the secure side, it should work. One thing I wanted to add to this was our discussion in the construction thing is we are reworking or looking at as part of the construction, the children's room window and the door that's right there. They probably shouldn't make that change until that work is done. At least they should discuss it.
Well, just so I understand it, so the fobs open the door
Staff are gonna have fobs.
and the fob locks the door as well?
No, the
you
door
lock it.
automatically locks. Okay, now the door with a key can be locked and unlocked. And what happened to some doors?
Some doors.
Yeah.
Some of these doors don't lock. But this is an example. This door, we've already switched over this one. To get from the meeting room to the staff room, now you need to fob. Use your fob, every staff has a fob to get into that door. On the other side, they can open it and come in here. So there's always the exit, but it means the entrance now is locked to anybody else who's using this room.
So that's
Doesn't
fail
have a lock.
secure. It's not using the magnetic thing that is creating, we can always exit.
You can always come
You
in
can
this
always
direction
exit.
from
You can
there.
always
And there's
exit.
no exit sign over that door. So it's okay, that door is locked to people who occupy this room all the time anyway.
It's none of the emergency exit doors are being impacted by this.
So this is a
proposal.
non-issue.
They're internal.
Fail safe.
Well, the one door that,
The only door would be the patio door. We wanna add fob entry to the outside, because right now there's no entry. So if we have a program out there, you have to prop the door open. So we wanna be able to keep the door shut and then just,
but the panic bar will always let you out anyway.
oh, the panic bar will always let you
Yeah.
out. So what he's
So-
talking about is making sure that the panic bar is not impacted.
And the other door that I think about is the one that goes to the staff area.
It'll be just like this. You can still open it from the staff
From the
side.
staff coming out.
How will that
And-
impact volunteers? Will that give them a pop?
We're not gonna keep these doors shut. It's really so that we can shut them in an emergency. So that no matter where you are in the building, there's a safe zone that you can bring patrons in, bring yourself in, and lock it off from other zones.
Any questions or comments?
Once it's all installed, you're gonna have to develop drills.
There's all kinds of things that go along with it.
Final, like I said, is the budget presentation report, so this was prior to having our final budget meeting with Skodak. So really, I mean, essentially, this is gonna speak specifically about the budget, so there's really.
Any questions for the admin committee? There's no motions in. Okay. Like I said, services committee did not meet, so it's the Katie show tonight.
Okay,
Budget
so.
committee.
So if you want to pull up my suggestion would be pull up the budget in the packet. And then I will talk through my notes while you're looking at the budget so that you can kind of see the effects of it or hear the effects of it while you're looking at the straightforward numbers and comparisons. So our number one priority when we were drafting the budget was to honor the strategic plan that we had adopted over the past year. And we also prioritized the capital improvement processes because again, that was something that we invested in, having the building survey, having the strategic planning company come on. So we really wanted to make sure that we were prioritizing and honoring those objectives. So with that said, staffing was a priority. So we did write in a 3% cost of living allowance. We added a full-time assistant director under the position of librarian 3, but for all intents and purposes, this would be Jill's assistant director. And then there was some internal reorganization that took place, meaning there were upgrades for principal clerk and for the information technology support specialist. And we were also building in an upgrade from a part-time clerk to a full-time clerk. So this isn't necessarily addressed by entirely new hires, but rather just kind of manipulating and changing what we already have and just reorganizing the staff that's already here and doing a great job. It was important to us to preserve our reserves, so we put in $145,000 transfer to capital reserves, which was up a little bit from 2024, but we have these projects in mind, so we thought it was prudent to prioritize that. And then finally, with our talk around programming and how that is an area that we're really proud of and that we're really happy with. We're doing a lot with the budget that we've been working with in the past, but by going up about $10,000, we can do so much more. So we allotted $34,700 for programming and planning, which was up, like I said, about $10,000 from 2024. Any questions about that so far? So the contribution from SCODAC has been something that we've been speaking about at length, and I know Mary and Jill and Michael have been working hard, and it's a priority for us to maintain that relationship and strengthen it. Meetings have taken place and they've gone well, and our goal is to reach an equitable agreement. So this line is what we think is a fair contribution, but we did write it in with an asterisk because it's not yet confirmed and therefore it may have to change. So this is what we're hoping will happen, but we do not have confirmation yet on that. We're proposing a 4.2% increase in the tax levy. So we wrote the budget, we worked through the 3.2% increase, which was under the tax cap. But this gives us so much more, even though we're asking for not much more from our taxpayers. So on a $250,000 home, it would be a $6.44 increase from last year's total. So it's only, and when we were at 3.2, the amount that we had only goes up $2.29 when we increase it to 4.2. So that $2.29 over the course of our, or over all of our taxpayers makes a big difference for us, but we didn't think this was a meaningful impact on our taxpayers. So we're hoping that you will support the budget that we wrote and see the justification for this increase. Any questions now?
We should, just to make clear, what we're doing here today is voting on the budget that we will be presenting at the public hearing. Not the budget that we're necessarily the budget we're voting on. Then we have the public hearing, and at that meeting, we vote on the budget that will be presented to the that we voted on. So that's what this is.
This is, yes, this is our proposal to you, the board, to seek your input and potentially support to move forward with this, to present it at the public hearing. In terms of other highlights, we have gifts and grants that have not been spent. The Friends are in good financial standing. Capital projects will be funded with matching grants, and reallocation of funding has led to higher yield interest payments. And so, while we're excited and proud of these savings or these assets, they're not necessarily things that we can depend on over time. So again, that's why we're asking for the 4.2 from the taxpayers. And then finally, our public hearing will take place on July 23rd. And then our actual budget vote will be September 17th.
Questions or comments? I want to thank Katie and everybody that participated in doing this. Because it was a lot of work. This, as you can see, there's a 5 at the top, the draft, which means there were 4 before that. So there was quite a bit of discussion, and we had more meetings than we had intended to. So a lot of effort went into it. So I appreciate that. Did you have?
No, I agree, and, you know, I think this is a good budget. We're in the process, and we'll discuss the Skodak issue a little more in executive session.
I have a procedural question. So we have to pass, if we vote for this, we have to pass the 60% here. Now, for the school district budgets, they have to do 60% if they vote the tax cap by the voters. We also have to do that.
No,
Just the board.
Just the simple majority, okay. Yeah, I was just not sure.
Yeah, no, that's a good question.
no, it's a difference, so yeah, it's a reasonable question.
Yeah, we're proud of this. We
Yeah.
feel like we talked through a lot of pieces and moved some things around, but we really did try to honor the strategic plan and prioritize what we felt came from that.
And we're also, this year, we're looking at, in particular with the strategic plan, the community, it's very community oriented versus just patron. So we're expanding what we're doing as a library with, you know, the input from our community. So I think in order to do a good job, we need to have the funding for it, so. And also the other part I did want to mention too was the principal clerk. There's going to be 2 departments combining, so that's going to be quite a bit extra work for one person. So that certainly makes sense to compensate them fairly. And we also believe in that too. I think everyone does, to compensate the staff fairly. So if anybody, or if no one has any comments or questions, move on to the motion. Motions, yep. The first motion would be motion to exceed the tax cap at 2025. So I would need to have, so yeah, I mean, are people, well, voting yes to do that? How many? Favor? Okay, any opposed? No opposition, so that motion
Yes,
yes, at 7.
we
We
need
need to-
5.
Yeah,
You need the motion and I didn't accept. Is that how that works?
I'm sorry, yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, that's how that went, sorry, Kim.
I raised my hand for
Yeah.
either a
Yeah.
motion or a second. But
All right, you good with that, Kim? Okay. Then, the second motion we have is a motion to approve the preliminary 2025 operating budget in the amount of $2,595,000, or $2,595,600. I'm sorry. Try one more time. $2,595,600 to be presented at the public hearing on Tuesday, July 23rd, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. I have okay, Charlie first, Michael second. Okay. Any comments, questions? No? Okay, all in favor? 7 in favor, none opposed, so the motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you to the budget committee.
Nice job, Keith.
Yeah. Yes. Good job, team. Good job. Good team.
Okay, are you set, Kim?
Yes.
Okay, we'll move on to the director's report. Great.
So we've been, despite, it feels like I've had tunnel vision in some ways on the budget this month, the library is doing some pretty amazing things. We have a pretty fantastic team and we are, our statistics keep going up. I know statistics don't tell everything, but our visits are up 5% over last year, and most of it is in-person traffic, not the, because we include visits with our website visits and our drive-through. And we started doing that since COVID because we thought that our website really is kind of another branch of services because there's so much digitally. So that's nice to see so much in person, so many people visiting us in person. Our active cardholders, which I think is more important than the number of cardholders, is also up. That's up 9%. We have been doing some significant outreach and partnerships. A lot of work with the school district, coordinating with all of the kindergarten classes, getting them to come into the library for kindergarten visits, which is really great. And we're also partnering with them to get out information about the summer reading program. Our youth services team has been meeting with the school librarians and or principals, depending on the school. Everyone has a different communication method that they would like to do. So it's been great. We appreciate our relationship with the school district. Big piece that we had a huge funding piece that we've been talked about last time was the replacement of our server, and that is finished and it went very well. And anytime you have something as significant as a server, you're kind of like that something really terrible doesn't happen. And it happened, the changeover happened right before we opened. So we were really hopeful and we had no loss of service at all. And so far we haven't had any issues. We are having a few issues that are not related to we don't think are related to the server, but it's just some licensing challenges with some of the new security software that we've put on the public computers that is not playing nice with another security software that we have that wipes the computers clean in between uses. They're sort of like, they're thinking that they're both our viruses or something. So we're working on that. So we've been taking a few of Selena has been taking a few of the public computers out and working on them, and but we're just about ready to solve that issue. We've been doing a lot of staff training on the different resources that we have. Our entire adult services team went through training on Print, which is our new mobile printing app, with the intent of everybody being very fluent and being able to troubleshoot for the community how to print from a mobile app. Now you can, just so you know, you can do that from home. You can download the Print app, send a document from your home computer or your phone through Print to the library. And then when you come to the library, right on the print release station, you can just put your library card in there and it pops up, and then you can release it and pay for it here. So it's a pretty cool service.
Is it still same day, still locked the same day, or like?
I think it's
how many
actually the
hours?
same day, yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
One other IT thing that we've been working on is really troubleshooting what's going on with Teams for the board and how can we make this a more user-friendly resource for us to collaborate. Because right now, essentially what's happened is we have internal users, which is library staff, and then we have what we consider external users. You have a separate email address, you're not part of our internal network, which is the board. And you're supposed to be able to segregate them with permissions, and you call them guest users, should be able to have a lot of the same privileges to collaborate. But Microsoft, it's actually not an issue that we're seeing. Microsoft is having this issue and they have still not been able to fix it. So what we have been testing, and if you do get on Teams at all, you probably had a few random things come to you that you couldn't open, or it's a test, and that was us testing. But since then so anyways, we are testing an alternative where we bring the board on as internal users and we just lock down all of this stuff that the board should not have access to with permissions. So what that would mean is that you would have training for Teams. Our target is to start this in January. You'd have training for Teams again. This sign-on issue that you've been having will not be an issue because you will have internal email accounts. So your emails will change. But because you have emails in the old email account, what we will do is we will keep the subscriptions for any current board members that have old emails, and we'll just have them forward. You won't notice anything, you'll just go through the new, you'll sign in through the new way, but you will see all your old messages too. So we'll just keep subscriptions, and then for anybody that's new that's coming on, they won't have that. We just won't subscribe them to 2 emails, they'll just have 1 email, okay? So we're working on figuring that out. In the meantime, we're not using Teams right now as a collaboration tool with the board because it's not working the way it should be working. Some of the collaborative pieces are working and some are not. We will still be posting things in there so that we're not losing our documentation for things. And you can still go in there and see things if you want. So there's still stuff in there every month. But we won't be collaborating on documents through there.
So with board minutes, they will come to us.
Board
via
minutes will
email.
come to you via email, and that's how it's happening now, right? They'll come to you via email. You will if you are, if you just have a few edits, like then you can send the edits directly to Cami as the secretary. And Cami will make the edits she'll save the document as a new document and then send that new document completed and say, this is the official document to Jenna. And then we will distribute that to everybody. Okay, so that's how it will be with minutes. And we're gonna have to work through email for any other collaborative documents as well. Questions about that? Big things. Coming up in September, we are participating in a new program through Upper Hudson called Books by Mail. This is really exciting, I think. So right now we have the Books with Wheels program, which is anybody that is homebound can have a bag of books curated by the library and then we have volunteers delivering them. That is not really going out to a lot of individuals. We don't market it a whole lot to individuals because it's very volunteer heavy. And it's challenging to do. So what we're gonna continue to do Books with Wheels for how we're really using it the most is with the senior living residents. So we collaborate with one point there and they distribute it within like Hawthorne Ridge. We go over to Hawthorne Ridge, we have a volunteer, Kevin, who goes to Hawthorne Ridge and delivers the books that we put together and distribute, and he manages distributing them through Hawthorne Ridge to everybody, right? So we'll continue to do that stuff internally.
Attention library patrons, library closing in 14 minutes. At this time, our meters are closed. Please separate your selected items to circulation desk. Thank you and have a good night.
So Books by Mail is targeted towards any individual with any sort of disability that makes it challenging for them to come into the library. And so this would be, Upper Hudson will actually deal with all the lending and the postage and everything, because they will be distributed through the Postal Service using the free matter for the blind program through the US Postal Service. And so there will be, it's all managed by Upper Hudson for any library that wants to participate. So it's a new Upper Hudson service, and we're excited about that because this will kind of expand our ability to really market these kinds of services for people who really need them.
Is there going to be an extra fee for that with
No.
Upper Hudson?
No, it's part of our membership.
I assume it's two-way to get the books back.
Oh, and to get the books back, yeah. So basically what it's gonna look like, there's a whole list of procedures, but what it's gonna look like is there's a bag and they put the thing in with a postage, paid postage slip. And so there's a flap in the front of the bag that has their address on it, and then in the back, if they turn it over, it's postage free and it's a return address to Upper Hudson. And then it'll go through our delivery system. So the holds will be kind of the same way. We'll put the holds on account for them and it'll be delivered. Upper Hudson is a delivery point for us in our interlibrary delivery system. So that'll all happen the same way, but then they will get mailed from Upper Hudson to the individual and returned to Upper Hudson from the individual. And then the books will make its way to us.
And when they say challenges, does that include people who don't have transportation or is it?
It's anybody with a disability.
Okay.
So it could be a permanent disability or a temporary disability.
My
And-
disability is memory loss.
The disability is approved by library staff to be part of the program.
What's the Postal Service program that does this?
It's part of the,
Is it something for the blind?
yes,
Free matter for the blind.
For the blind?
matter for the blind
It's
program.
odd that books fit into the category unless they're braille.
Well, so we do have through the Books and Braille Lending Library, which could be a part of this, there are Braille books and readers and audio book collections where people have
Recorded the books onto these special recording devices. So we have access to that right now that we can bring to the library and lend to people as well. It's a really cool service. Are there any other questions that you had from my report?
I had one thing that I thought was
Yes.
innovative, that the feedback notebooks. So that's a new How are you finding, the people
Good,
are-
I meant to bring them to this meeting to just show you, so I'll try to bring them to the next meeting. So there are these notebooks, and each department, you know, came up with their own notebooks, what they look like, but there's a notebook, a physical notebook at each service point, including the drive-through, where staff members can make notes about anything that they are hearing or noticing that they think is important. It could be as simple as the library is hot right now, but it can also be, you know, this patron experienced this, or I'm getting a lot of, you know, questions about this. So we're trying to see trends. We're looking for trends that we can address so that sometimes things don't always get filtered up. And so this is a way to capture that. So the department heads are getting it, and then I'm getting it as well. So I'll be able to go around, I've been going around, you know, periodically and just looking at them. And it also gives you something to talk about with staff too, with what's happening. Oh, tell me more about what, you know, this situation. So this is all part of as we're talking about input and feedback, and, you know, it's all part of our strategic planning, kind of coming up with these kinds of ideas.
I thank you for starting the volunteer program back up. It was like today, Logan and his friend made a plan on when they could do a shift together. They came to their volunteer training together, and then I opened the door and my husband was like, he's calling for his first volunteer shift, which is a heavy lift for him because he's a very introverted boy. So he's, hi, I am calling to make a volunteer shift, and so I like did the whole thing. So it was like really cute to see. And then I saw his friend, and Logan was with me, and his friend was like, is that shift okay? And I was like, that shift is great. So it's just like, it's just nice to see they're excited about it and they're looking forward to it, and it's a nice way for them to practice their social skills and do something in the community and be important. So thank you.
I will share that with Jenna because she runs a phenomenal volunteer program. Other Jenna.
She's right.
We have a couple Jennas, we have a couple Susans, we have a couple Elizabeths. So there are 53 teens and tweens who have been trained so far for the volunteer training program. And they are from, most of them are Columbia or Goff. But there's a few others, Maple Hill, I see one, two, a couple from April Park, one from Algonquin, a couple from other, which means they're probably homeschooled or possibly like a private school. So, but the majority are Columbia or Goff kids.
Anybody have any other observations, questions for Jill? There's no personnel memorandum.
We are getting ready to just kind of an update on personnel. So we do have a retirement that's coming in August that you probably know about because we talked about it before. And that is our head of technical services, and this is the department that we're merging, circulation and technical services. And so our current supervisor will take over both teams. And we will not be hiring another librarian too. Instead, we'll be hiring a part-time circulation staff member and a part-time cataloger to fill some of those roles, and then the supervisory duties will be taken over by the current department head. So we will be posting those positions soon, so that we can start the transition. We've done a lot of internal work to make this transition ready, to get ready for this transition, but we would like to have some overlap with the current department head who does the cataloging and the new cataloger.
Will the department name change or?
We're gonna change the department name. We're still kind of working on it, something like access services or something, but we're looking for something a little catchier than that.
Alrighty, thank you. So we'll move on to liaison reports. Our first Friends of the Library, Julianne. And I will again congratulate Julianne on her award for the Upper Hudson Library System Volunteer of the Year. It's well deserved, and I'd love to tell everyone. So there you go.
You can see a special call out to Julianne. Oh, you opened to the page, Charlie.
All right.
So it's in there, right in sort of the center of the book.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's actually, there's a couple of board members in here, those of you who were at the parade, who are in the picture.
Yes, we are.
And we look good.
We have our friends' shirts on, so very cool. All right, Julianne, what do you have?
We've been hinting that the library, book donations are lower than normal. It has recovered and we're doing better getting donations, but we do, as Friends Want to Prepare, for a day when we only do one sale a year and not two. So we're looking at new fundraising activities, we're testing things out to see what will stick. So to that end, we have a new one coming out on July 20th called the Library Lawn Game Palooza. One called the Library Olympics, which we're not allowed to use that word, so it's Palooza. So we're gonna feature a lot of the Library of Things games. It's going to be, it's a fundraiser, but we're not going to require a fee, so when you come up with a voluntary donation, anybody who approaches us will get 10 tickets to play games, we'll have games all over the lawn. And they can donate as much as they would like, and then there'll be participation prizes geared towards children. So we really want this to be a family event. We have a food truck, Eisenbergers, will be here doing a food truck. We're gonna see if we can get something else, or something along those lines. We need a lot of volunteers. It's perfect for teams. It's gonna we wanna have at least 20 games going simultaneously so that we can get people through fast. We want abbreviated versions of the games, only be about 5 minutes. And we want the
Do you
next
know
one.
the time for that yet?
There's a Sign Up Genius whole thing. The games are 12 to 3, but they're set up shifts and then breakdown. So
So
they're
like 11 to 4 anytime.
in that window, yeah. And we try to keep the shifts under 2 hours because it is the summer and it's hot here. What's the date again? July 20th, Saturday. So you can also, you want to have sign up for your budget hearing. That would be a good opportunity to promote that.
Will they sign up through this volunteer program or would this?
The volunteers gonna still 5 slots,
Okay.
but anybody who doesn't want to do that can do it through Sign Up Genius.
Okay.
So we will have 5. There's 10 total shifts for volunteers, 5 at each. Right, great.
Okay.
Between 1 and 3, so it's a new event, we just want to see how it'll go. We want to get families here, we want to just see what's available in the Library of Things, and that's important. And so I'm looking for games. If anybody has a lawn game, I need lawn games. I've got bocce ball, cornhole, disc golf, anything that all ages can play with and nothing sharp and dangerous. So if you have games, please let me know. I just need to borrow for the one day. But we want to just make sure that as many people as possible can play. And we'll see if this is something we want to make an annual, but let's just test it out and see what happens.
And as you mentioned at the Friends meeting too, some of you will remember that we had that children's festival years ago, so it's kind of an extension or an expansion on that idea, maybe.
And it's low cost. I mean, it should be mostly volunteers and donate games or borrow games.
Is the food truck going to donate back, of course, you want to say?
I have not asked, we don't even know if we're gonna get.
Right.
So as a first timer, I just wanna see what happens.
Okay.
We do have all the meeting rooms booked as a backup should it rain, and meeting with the other Jenna on tabletop games. So that we have to come inside, we have a plan for that, and be a small footprint, but hopefully it'll be a good game. So that's number 1.
Since the notification that's down, the time is now 8 p.m. and the library is closed. We are closed tomorrow for Juneteenth and we'll reopen Thursday morning at 9 a.m. Thank you, and have a good evening.
Plans are underway now for the 2nd annual Greenbush Quest, where we're again collaborating with the library. The theme's gonna be pirate this year, and we're gonna feature the Mango app, which speaks pirate. Who knew there was a language? So having a lot of fun with that. We're gonna start soliciting the sites again, but it'll be again a collaborative event. We're gonna kick it off on Community Day, September 14th. So I'm gonna dress like a pirate, and I will be there. And so we're hoping to kick it off September 14th through October 14th to avoid Halloween this year. So that'll be
just another, it'll be free again for community. It turned out to be a great event last year, so we're hoping to repeat that this year, so look for more updates on that. We are also putting together a crafting team to make book page crafts. We did the Mother's Day crafts and that went over well, so now we're going to get a new team. This will be hopefully a standing team for the whole year. We're gonna do holiday crafts, so we're gonna start now, take our time, build over the summer, and then in November have a different new fundraising event where we'll be some crafts made out of book pages. We have an unlimited supply of book pages, so if you know anybody, we're having a meeting on Monday, this coming Monday at 6 o'clock. You do not have to be a friend, and it's just people who would like to contribute their time. We'll provide the materials, and this is just information you need to see what talent is in our community, what ideas we have, and then we'll do some holiday crafts for sale in November.
Do you need to have skills?
I have no skills at all, so if you can pull up paper and use a glue gun, you're our girl, so.
Technically, yes.
And we're gonna make it very simple, like we'll learn it together and then we'll hand off the project and you can do it at your leisure. Over the summer. Yeah, we can make it very low pressure on your own schedule. Oh, the last thing, we changed the dates for the fall book sale. It's now, what was my dates? The new dates are October something. October 4th through 6th. So we originally had published a different set of dates, but they were done before. These dates do conflict with Rosh Hashanah, we're aware of that. For our research, this is a better conflict than the other one. So the calendar was pretty full, there was nothing we could do at this point, we had to conflict with something, so that's what we did, so it's now October 4th through 6th. And now that the donations are back up, we should be in good shape.
Are you planning to do the early admission?
Yes, that's a friend's benefit, if you're a friend's member at $50 or higher, you can come to the private night. We're hoping that will increase friend membership in the long run. Questions?
Thank you, Julianne. Town of East Greenbush, Jim McHugh, let us know that he wasn't gonna be able to make it tonight. He didn't have anything to share. So we will move on to Rensselaer County because Tom Grant was able to be here.
Senior Center in East Greenbush is moving along. They're now saying relatively firmly it's going to be around November 15th or 14th. I'm still shooting for the first of the year, just kind of being pessimistic there. So that, and they're interested in collaborating with the library program. So I think that's got the potential to have a really strong partnership with the library. So,
And that's down by the old Kmart?
yeah, it's kind of across from St. Mary's where it is. Not that anybody would be familiar with the paddock. It was right next door to that. It's gonna be, yeah, right there, yeah.
Are there any like bus services or anything?
Yeah, they're talking about it, at least to get the people up from Rensselaer and then see what happens after that. And there will be a thrift shop. People who go to the center in Rensselaer, they insist on having the thrift shop. So if you're interested in buying clothing or any of that type of thing, that'll be there. And it's yet to be determined how popular that'll be at the new site as opposed to it was in the city of Rensselaer. So we'll see, we'll give it a shot.
Will there be, the way it's set up, I'm assuming there'll be space, like if the library wanted to do a program for
Oh, yeah,
seniors?
it's gonna be,
There.
it's gonna be really kind of fancy. It's gonna be a new building, new style, 2024 style rather than, the 1970s buildings that we've been working on. Yeah.
It's great. Okay, any questions for John? Amanda? Nothing? All right, thanks, Tom. And next up is Tammy regarding Upper Hudson Library.
Nothing really new to report, just had a really nice meeting, annual meeting last week at the Albany Country Club. Where colleagues accepted your award as well as all the others. It was just a really nice, night collaborating and meeting other libraries and staff. So, I think it's great. Great group.
Cammy, can I have one of those brochures if you have it?
Like,
Is there any update on the,
no update, no. For our next meeting,
oh, because that's, yeah,
was in July.
The library directors met with, the director of the
library system, so we had questions and collectively felt good about proceeding, recommending to the board, the Upper Hudson Board, to proceed with exploring that it shouldn't be a partial, like just a lending agreement. If there was an agreement put in place, it would be very clear that this is full membership and this is what we're working towards as a full membership step up thing. With stages, so that was the majority of our directors association meeting. That was a both discussion after Charity left, as well as, you know, asking questions and there was a lot of research that was done in between last meeting and this meeting that was provided to us, data that we were able to review to make sure that it would be a positive, it would have a positive impact on our communities. There's a lot of discussion about, you know, what would happen to the other communities, and ultimately sort of like that's not our purview with the decision making. It was how is it impacting the Upper Hudson library community.
No, that's the county, it's a county system, right?
It's a county system, so it's the city libraries, it's suburban and rural libraries.
There are other libraries that are part of,
Yeah,
not part of Schenectady County, so that, I mean, there's a lot of moving parts with what happens when the central library moves from one system to another and recharters, and I mean, it's a very big move
Does this,
for them to be considering.
isn't this almost on a state level? Doesn't the state?
They need to get
dictate?
state permission to do it, and it first has to go through the Upper Hudson Board, whether they're willing to entertain it. So the first vote I think they had was that they were willing to consider. And I don't think there's been any formal proposals put to the table yet on what that might look like. Stage as far as I know. For next meeting.
Any questions for Upper Hudson Library System stuff?
That's my question was about this.
Oh, yeah,
so I'm glad that, you know,
I wasn't here for last meeting.
yeah, that wasn't anything we talked about, so. We'll hear about that.
New business is the MOU between the Friends and Beach Community Library and the library. So at the Friends meeting earlier, I believe there was a motion which authorized Julianne to sign the MOU that we all received in our packets. I think hopefully everybody read it. It's a renewal of the agreement that has been in place. And part of that agreement is that it gets reviewed every year. And so we need to have a motion to authorize Jill to sign this contract. I wanted to just point out one thing that I thought was interesting. I didn't realize it, but there's two things in here that are directed at the trustees in particular, and it indicates that trustees should become a friend of the library. So trustees are encouraged to do that, but also it says that the trustees join the Library Trustees Association section of the New York Library Association and the United for Library Association, Advocates, Friends, blah, blah, blah. So I had a question for you in terms of if we join these things, are there costs associated with it? And
So I'll have to double check and see if we received a renewal, but we do
we do subscribe to it as like an institution every
Okay.
year on behalf of you guys.
Okay,
So we'll have to see if that is been paid up for this year, but that means that you should sign up for their like lists
yeah,
and get on their email list if you're not on that.
yeah, and so I wondered if anyone else has been doing that, or if anyone else. You do? Yeah, okay. I mean, I get the Upper Hudson emails, I don't know that I get things from Nyla.
I get Nyla stuff almost every week.
Maybe you could
I'll
share
get to
with us.
see how to get more than one person
Yeah,
getting the emails.
And I think it dates back to when I was president.
I'm sure.
I
Yeah.
got on it, and then
yeah.
nobody ever takes you off it.
It's like Hotel California. All right, thank you.
Question.
Thank you. So with that, is everyone familiar with the MOU? Any questions or concerns with it? Okay. So can I have a motion to authorize the director to sign the Friends MOU? Charlie? I have a second. Michael? All those in favor? 7 in favor, none opposed, so the motion passes. Thank you. About facilities work group update.
Well, we've been meeting weekly. They've been finalizing the documents. We had a plan to receive bids in the middle of the second week of July. But last time they talked almost as if that's when they were gonna go out to bid, and they're resolving that. This came up last Thursday, they're resolving. All in all, they're just about ready to put this stuff out to bids. There'll be 6 bid packages. Breaking it down into the various parts. Documents last Thursday, they said we're 95 to 98% complete, they're putting finishing touches on things, doing front end stuff and that, so it's moving along. And we should be on target for our construction start in August.
And Charlie will continue on with the meetings. Any questions on the facilities update? All right. I just wanted to mention to everyone that the trustee, which I just learned, so trustee candidate packets, I guess are available now?
They're available, yep. They're usually available at the June board meeting.
Okay, so if you know of anyone that's interested in joining our board.
I know Julianne.
She knows you too. Just saying. We welcome either of you guys. So just so you know, and advocate for.
We'll have 2 open spots.
Yeah, we have 2 open spots. I do have, there are 3 people that reached out that expressed interest. So I will let them know that the packets are now available. And they'll be due August 17th, right? A month before the election.
15th and 17th. I can look at the calendar. Okay. It's also in that packet.
All right, so
deadline.
that's all right.
So you can check that folder there. It's also posted on the website.
Okay. So are there any questions before we go to executive session and bid farewell to our friends? And
Thank you, let me this.
thank you. Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Julianne.
Thank you guys.
You too,
All right,
thank you.
so I guess we'll sign off from our public.
Thanks for calling.
Oh, wait, we should do the motion to go into executive
Oh,
session.
sorry.
Before we sign that.
Sorry. All right, can I have a motion to go into executive session? Michael, second, and all in favor? All right,
All right,
thank you, Michael.
now you can come.
Let Julian out.
All right.